Good morning, everyone. Do we all have our opening intentions?
Yes, ma'am.
We are an assembly of people who will teach each other to find the miracle of joyful living from life's circumstance. And our intention here today is to stimulate thought, create connection, and expand consciousness. Thank you all for joining us. Our announcements are the same as pretty much every week. We are collecting awakening stories. If you'd like to email your story of how you came to a more spiritual way of life, the email address to send them to is admin@hummingbirdAssembly.com. In the center of the table, we have our two boxes. The green box is the one where we invite you to list the topics you would like to discuss, because this is your assembly and we want to keep you engaged in the topics that are relevant to you today. And the white box is where, thank you, Vanna. The white box is where we collect donations to help us pay for the space and the ongoing needs of a group. So if you would like to make a donation, please feel free to. And there are envelopes in there if you'd like to put your name on it. So you could if you wanted to. So given all of that, shall we begin with our opening intention?
Yes.
May I come to understand that blessings are everywhere, that my attitude will affect others, that challenges are often gifts in disguise. May I come to trust that most things can get better with time, that my instincts and gut feelings have value, and that a positive attitude makes things go smoother. May I come to see that I have many skills and talents I can use, that I am a positive influence on many people, that there are those around me who wish me well. May I come to value that today is a blessing to be enjoyed, that each person is unique and important, and that each moment of my life has meaning. For our discussion today, I brought another list. And this hit my newsfeed, and I thought it was kind of an interesting conversation to have. I'm not sure how many we'll tackle at a time. It's just 8 things. And the title of the list is 8 Common Limiting Beliefs in the Spiritual Community Today. I thought it might be an interesting conversation to have as we're all on our own journey of awakening. And that's where we'll start. So the first thing on the list is that people who have money are corrupt and or are greedy, that money erodes spirituality.
Not necessarily.
Did you say these are misconceptions?
Well, someone has written a list of limiting beliefs that the spiritual community needs to let go of. So it's stated as the belief that someone might hold.
It's very judgmental, which is not what we're about.
That is very true. Yes.
And I think that many people hold that belief that if you're spiritual and you're on a spiritual journey, things of the material world are only here to trap us and hold us back from moving on spiritually, perhaps.
Right. Yeah, because one of the tenets in so many of the faiths is that poverty is the path to spiritual freedom, right?
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this touches more on programming than it does to do with your ability to connect or not connect with your God concept.
Yes, there are many people, famous or rich or whatever, who, lead spiritual lives. So for me, it's not one and the same, have money.
Oh, your eyes.
So why do you think it's on the list of things that we need to let go of?
Perhaps too many of us don't recognize the ability that we have that our thoughts create our reality, and if we believe that we could have it and we desired it, we would have it.
Right, that your thoughts are things, right?
Mm.
Maybe there's a misconception that in order to have money, to be wealthy, there's opposite, to be deceitful, to be, sort of that kind of concept of pushing all the little people to get yourself ahead, and not having the same beliefs maybe. But I think it's just that sort of generalization or misconception. Money or who are wealthy have attained that wealth by not being spiritual, or by not being kind or caring, or any of the other sort of spiritual.
Right. And I think that is a common conception, right? And I think we hold that belief to feel better about ourselves. Because while somebody else might be materialistically successful, I don't know what that is, but I want to see if I can mute the participants. Oh, the participant is muted. Interesting. Continue. I don't know what's talking over here. Anyway, sorry about that, everybody. It's like a little dragon here in our session.
I think to me, that makes sense to me, is that it really gives people a reason to explain why they don't have. And just in my family growing up, we were, I feel like we were middle class, but my parents held beliefs around people who had a lot of money. So we had relatives who had a lot of money, and they didn't speak very highly of them. And it was really picking on the negative things. And yet they were very generous and they were very loving to our family. But my parents, my dad especially, had some, I think, limiting beliefs around money. And that if you had money, you were this.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that didn't rub off on me because I don't feel that way at all. And I've always been very empowered around money. But I did have some other influences in my life. But I do think it is a way to explain why people aren't that way.
And in generations past, I think we've really sought for a position of, we all want power, right? Like that's, in generations past, when spirituality was not the way that we are practicing it here, certainly, and where the world on the whole is moving towards, religion in particular and life in general was really built around this assertion of power. Who can you have power over? Are you in control of you? Who are you managing? Who are you dominating? And part of the impact of that is that we're always comparing ourselves to others. So we see that they are financially wealthy and I am not. Well, I must have some area where I am better than them. I must be more spiritual. I must be more loving. I must be more compassionate, because clearly being wealthy, you can't coexist with those things, is what the programming, I think, would be saying to us. Anybody have any comment on that?
I don't think it's true.
No, I definitely don't think that's true.
Programming.
Yeah.
And again, that justification of why I'm not wealthy.
Right. To feel better about yourself.
To feel better about yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas I think money is just really a tool. Right?
Yeah.
And spirituality and your beliefs and how you feel about yourself and other people is a very separate entity from money, to me.
I agree.
Whereas the statement combines it.
Right.
There's a relationship between.
Well, because the
you
list
as
is
a
talking, how are you blocking yourself spiritually? If you're holding this limiting belief that people who have money are corrupt and or greedy, and that money erodes spirituality, you need to let go of that.
Yes. I'm with what Annie said earlier about if you believe it and you desire it, you will have it. And I've proven that my entire life. Like it's theory that I've practiced and proven, and it's true. Anybody can have anything.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the work that I do too, is really, why don't you believe you can?
Right.
And that's the piece that needs to be, well, change your story, right?
Mm-hmm. And I guess it's what an individual thinks of how they define abundance, right?
Mm.
if it has a monetary attachment to it or not, So I think, you go back to the law of abundance and how you define that.
Also, a lot of people with money do charity work behind the scenes that they don't necessarily advertise.
Yeah.
So although they may have material appearances of being self-centered or whatever, we don't know what happens behind the scenes.
Right.
And they are doing spiritual work, whether they know it as spiritual work or not, it can still be there.
Can you do spiritual work without being conscious that you are doing spiritual work? Oh, that's a great topic, Sarah. I really like that.
Do you want a piece?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great idea because we talk about, how this is about consciousness.
But you're right in the piece about the definition of it too, right? One of my sayings is it's great to be rich. So anytime I have any financial anything, I'm making a payment, I'm making plans, whatever, I always laugh and say, oh, it's great to be rich. My definition of rich is very broad.
Right.
It's rich in friendships. It's rich
Absolutely.
in connections.
Mhm.
It's rich in anything that I need in my life. And yet there was a point when I first started using that sentence, felt very uncomfortable. I felt like, oh,
The sentence
What?
of I'm wealthy.
no, it's great to be rich.
It's great to be rich.
There was a negative connotation to it. So even though I say I'm glad it didn't rub off, I think it might have a little bit, right? But within a week, I was over it.
And it speaks to programming then, right?
It does.
Mhm.
It was really interesting. But yeah, money and wealth, sometimes that's somebody's total focus in
Yes.
life.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's how they speak, is in relation to money and material things in every facet of their day, right?
And they're caught up with guarding it and protecting it and making sure that it's theirs and they keep it,
Yes,
right?
that's right.
And that then they're mistrustful of anyone
Yes,
trying to get close to them
yes.
too often. That seems to be a pattern.
And I think there's a little bit of an assumption then that speaks to the opposite, that people that live in poverty or whatever would be more spiritual. And I don't necessarily think that's correct either. And I think that money and spirituality can be two separate entities, really.
Because I think, we all know of someone who is not wealthy and is also unhappy, right? Or somebody who is poor and not spiritual, not connected to any sort of divinity within themselves. And it certainly doesn't mean that to be poor, therefore you are, right? If we look at the flip side of this conversation or this,
Yeah.
this statement,
Yeah.
poverty does not automatically equal spiritually enlightened. Do we have anything else we want to say on this topic, or should we go to the next item?
Go on.
Move on.
Yeah.
All right. The
Prove
next,
it.
number 2.
Misconceived.
Number 2, you have to eat organic, gluten-free, vegan in order to have a high vibration.
For sure. For sure.
Remember, they're stating it as a limiting belief. It's not a belief that we need to embody. It's a belief that the author is putting forward as limiting. And it doesn't mean that, I am a gluten-free vegan who only eats organic, because y'all know me.
You like your steak and
I
you
like
your wine
food.
and your beer.
I like it all. And definitely the gluten.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people who hold this idea. And for a long time, when I was awakening, when I was on my early journey, I was a vegetarian. And part of it came out of a text that I read that I thought, the book is still deeply important in my life, and I read it once a year. And I've been reading it now for 24 years every year. But there is a line in it that discusses how your body is not able to allow your deepest connection with the Creator if you are eating other things that the Creator has made. And was speaking specifically about, meat. And it is definitely a commonly held position that eating animals is an act of violence. So why is that belief limiting?
Because I think it contains a judgment.
Sorry, Lindsay.
Oh, sorry. I think it maybe because it contains such a strong judgment. To me, judgment is almost an opposite to what the embodiment of spirituality is. So that, when I hear that, it's like, it sounds very like a strong judgment, and that seems almost the opposite of what spirituality means to me.
Yeah, and it's very prescriptive, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to join this club, you have to give up.
Yeah.
You can't do this, you can't do this, and then we might as well
Well,
go right into
we're back
religion.
And then we're back into
dogma. Yeah.
Right?
It actually sounds more like a cult than a religion.
Here are your
It's so
shoes
rigid.
and come and drink this Kool-Aid.
Exactly.
Well, you know, if you believe it, it's true.
That's exactly it.
So my understanding is these statements that you're reading are what
Others,
some people think
Right,
spirituality aligns with.
right. To become spiritually evolved, you must.
I'm thankful that I didn't really know anything about spirituality. I came in like a virgin, right? So I had no preconceptions. I didn't think I had to be a lesbian or anything. Like, seriously.
Well, that's item 4. No, I'm kidding.
Because you're right. I think that those types of things would limit people
Yeah.
from becoming interested.
so who started all these rumors? The church?
Well, someone who's trying to assert themselves
That's
as a
right.
position of authority, right?
Right.
And there are a lot of movements where yoga is less of a religious practice now, or certainly in North America, and more of a sanitized exercise. However, many people who do yoga and who teach yoga and who are taught yoga are told to move away from animal food. And I think that's a direct follow of the religion that it originally started from, right? That I don't even remember the faith. Is it Hinduism? Anyway, whatever yoga has come from, they are vegans. And they love animals and they hold animals up.
Well, Buddhists, they don't believe in killing any living thing.
Sorry?
Buddhists don't believe in killing any living thing. So, for example, I saw a program that Buddhists will not kill fleas on their dogs because you're killing another living animal, which would be a flea.
Right.
But they get around that by saying, accepting that if someone else that's not Buddhist
Can do
does
it for
flea
you.
control for them,
No.
they're not doing it, so
Right.
then they are accepting of that.
And then that goes back to the whole other conversation we had a few weeks ago about intention versus action,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So if your intention is that the flea is going to be killed,
Yes.
didn't you cause that? Like, you called the vet.
So, I mean, I just remember seeing, and I worked with a fellow who was a practicing Buddhist. We had some interesting conversations about
For sure you would,
those
yeah.
kinds of things
Yeah.
and how you continue to eat meat.
And I think the other part of this, the living thing, I personally, which is all that I can speak to with my own personal belief, I do not personally believe that a carrot is not alive.
Exactly.
A carrot has sprung from a seed. It completely destroyed itself. It became a plant and it became a root. And we eat the roots. And that's the carrot. How is that not life?
All plants are living things,
Yeah.
right? So yes.
And who am I to say this life of a cow or a pig or a chicken or a duck or whatever is more valuable than the life of the zucchini?
Mhm.
that I just pulled off of the vine. You're laughing.
Oh, yeah.
Let's hear it.
Changed it from carrot to zucchini, that's why.
Right.
It's true. You're absolutely right. And, you know, it's funny because I think of this often when I'm killing things in my home, like a mosquito
Right.
or a spider. And I always think to myself, self, do you want a house full of bugs? No. So I kill it and go, oh, bless your little soul, little mosquito.
And there you go.
To try
Come
to
back.
wash that
Out of my house.
That's right.
But that's what they did in older times, right? Like when people were hunting and gathering for food, the hunters had some very ancient prayer that they said when they, you know, were cleaning the deer carcass, and thank you for sacrificing so that my family may live. And we're totally removed from all of that. So I think part of this statement, I agree with it in a certain sense. And the sense is that just mindless consumption is not
Of
a
anything.
spiritual practice of anything,
Of anything.
of TV, of any food, of exercise, anything mindless that you do without conscious intention. We come back to that statement, is not a spiritually practicing thing. So what do you do? For a long time, what I did was I just purchased clean meat. I would just get my meat from the Amish butcher. You know, it's all heritage. It's not even, they say right now organic chicken is not really any different from the other chicken because the chickens have been so vaccinated and whatever that it doesn't matter. Structurally, they're all the same. But I think for me, the difference is less about what it's comprised of and more about what happened in that life.
The life it was allowed to live and the way it was.
What happened in that life? Yeah. Was it trapped in a stall?
Exactly.
Did it never see the light of day?
It's
Did it
trapped
know
in
what
the-
grass felt like under its feet? Did it have a life?
Yes.
And yes,
Joyful life.
yeah.
Right?
Well,
Did it live in misery?
they know that they're going to be
Yeah.
killed.
Eventually, to get there, but throughout its days of its living, did it have moments of joy? Right? Like being in the sunshine,
Yeah.
out on the grass,
Yeah.
roaming freely.
Because we know we're going to be dead one day
Yeah.
too.
No one,
Definitely.
no
We're
one or
not getting out of
thing
here alive.
gets out alive.
Yeah.
Not even the zucchini. If even
No.
it doesn't get picked,
No.
it's going to
'Cause if
rot.
it doesn't, it'll rot. That's
It'll
right.
rot.
But I think the intention and having that awareness and that acknowledgement is an important factor, right? It's an important factor that you are acknowledging that there's a death, whether it be of an animal or a bug or whatever, like that. Who are you to be so mighty and powerful that you can just kill everything and not care? That's
Yeah.
not very spiritual. to
No,
me.
not at all. People often say that what makes a difference in a meal is that it's cooked with love.
Yes.
And they say it as a joke, right? It's an old adage, oh, it must be the love, ha, ha, ha. But truly, your energy translates.
Absolutely.
And if you're thinking the whole time you're cooking, I hate this, I hate this person I'm cooking this food for, my kids are driving me crazy, my boss was an idiot today, rage, rage, rage in the soup, you wonder why the soup tastes bad?
And you got indigestion eating it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or if you're thinking, oh, these tomatoes look so great, I must have bought the right ones at the shop, and doesn't that meat smell delicious? And oh, my kids are home and I'm making this pot of soup for everybody, and it's going to be a lovely time. I can't wait for my husband to come home. It's a totally different vibration. And I was thinking about this a lot at the start of the year because, you know, we all have New Year's resolutions. And of course, like many people, I always think, this is the year I'll get healthy. But my thought process was different. And what I was thinking about is, how am I treating the food? Like we say, and I'm getting ahead of myself because they come to this later on, and maybe we'll talk about it in a different week, but they say that, you know, you eat a diet that's rich in fatty stuffs and you're going to be sick. We're told that your food is killing you, you're eating all that processed stuff, there's no nutrients in it, there's no nutrition. We're told all of these things about food, and really none of the things we're told are good things. So we're sitting there with this food, knowing that it's not going to nourish us, and your thoughts are things which is what I think we were talking about in the money thing. We know it's not going to nourish us, but we have to eat it anyway because we just need to fill the void. We just need to fill the void. We need to fill the void. And I find this fascinating because I'm thinking about, you know, virtually the epidemic levels of obesity in North America. We're fatter than we ever have been. And there are a myriad of reasons for this, but I don't think it's all about one thing. And I really think the key thing is that as a society, we are also disconnected. We have no connection. And a very common practice that we did for centuries was a blessing over our food before we ate it. I grew up doing that. But I was really glad when I got my own place and I didn't have to do it anymore. Because I thought it was an old, antiquated practice. Oh, who cares? Oh, bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
But I think what I came back to was that we're missing that component, like of saying, I'm grateful for this food. I'm grateful for the life that was given so that I could have these eggs. I'm grateful to the zucchini for allowing me to pick it. But as we bless our food and we create the intention to absorb all of the nutrition and to easily release anything we don't need, that elevates our vibration.
And fills the void, whatever the void
And
is.
fills the void, yeah.
Mhm.
Anybody have any comment? And I talked for a while.
I agree. I agree. I think the intention is a very powerful part of food. Definitely, you know, if you're feeling negative about what you're putting into your mouth, it's going to be very different than if you felt positive about it. And it's funny because when you think of, I remember when I was younger and I knew somebody who was really, really thin. And they could eat anything they wanted to. They had no guilt. They don't have any negative feelings. And it's like, you know, they're eating all
How come
this
that doesn't work for me?
stuff, right?
Yeah.
The word that stood out for me there was guilt. It's all the guilt that we put into everything
Yeah.
we do, all
Yeah.
the shaming that we do,
Yeah.
and that's the negative vibration that
And this statement invites you to feel guilty and to be ashamed that you're not eating organic, gluten-free, vegan food.
Instead of guilt-free food.
Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome? Today, all my food will be guilt-free.
guilt-free chocolate.
Yeah.
And just be grateful for it instead of any of those negative feelings.
Bless you. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Do we have anything more to say on this topic?
I think much like the statement I said to you guys earlier about it's great to be rich,
Yeah.
I can create a new sentence for myself around food and somehow make it habit
Right.
to reprogram or, you know, set a new story in my mind. I don't have a lot of guilt about food, only when I binge eat.
Right.
But other than that, I'm pretty good. But I think it's that easy. Now that we have that awareness, I think it is that easy because once you become aware of that story, you can change it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really deciding what you're going to change it to.
And that's a key. And the reason I'm glad you said that, because I wanted to say to you, is it easy or is it simple? Because I think easiness implies that it should just done. I think it's a really simple idea that we need to change our intentions around what we're eating and consuming, but it's not easy to apply it.
So I use those
Certainly
words
against me, right?
interchangeable,
But then you talk about the openness factor, and I realize we're on the same page because you have to be willing to change the pattern and the story and yeah.
Simple, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're right. Easy does elicit a fast, whereas it's not.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily simple. Okay.
Yeah. Drink some Slim Fast. It'll be great. Right?
Yeah.
It's easy. If you've ever tried to drink Slim Fast, you know it's not easy. Do we have anything more we want to say on this statement, or shall we move on to the next? Okay. This one is a very simple sentence. And remember again that it's a belief that some people hold. It's not that I think we need this. The government is corrupt.
Doesn't everyone believe that?
Doesn't everyone know that?
It's good to hear you laughing so hard, Lindsay.
What does that have to do with, what does it have to do with spirituality? That's my question.
Well, that was the first
Well, you
thing I
know
thought
what?
when I
It's
saw
a
that.
judgment, a big, huge judgment, right? And then if you try to put yourself in the place of a government, where you're going to be the one that's going to do it all right, and you're going to satisfy everyone's needs and everyone's wants and everyone's desires, and you're going to make it all happen with no taxation, let's say, right? Like, that's a monumental undertaking, and yeah, I don't know who could ever do it completely
Well,
and
nobody
satisfy everybody, right? But the biggest thing there is the huge judgment and being so critical.
But I want to go back to something that you just said there,
Okay,
that it was a monumental undertaking.
yes.
If we look back to the universal laws that we were discussing, and my favorite law, the hardest one, the law of reflection,
Mhm,
what we are putting out there is what we are receiving.
mhm. Yeah.
So if enough of us believe that it's possible
Mhm,
for, with no taxation and complete autonomy, for everyone's needs to be met by the government or by something else,
mhm.
wouldn't that happen?
I guess if enough
Or if we
people-
think it's a monumental undertaking,
Mhm,
wouldn't nobody touch it? Because it's monumental.
mhm.
It's true, but I guess we have to define what government is first, because I think government has different meanings to different people. And to me, government is the structure, because there's so many people that work for government. It's the structure more than anything. So what's your definitions of government? Because I don't believe that everybody has the same definition.
It is, it's the structure that society has agreed upon, right? We come together as a group for the betterment of all. And it needs us all to participate to be effective, right?
Okay, so according to the internet,
Mhm.
government is defined as a noun, the governing body of a nation, state, or community.
Mhm.
For sure, but there's so many tiers in government, right? Like,
Does it matter?
That's the infrastructure of a government.
well, when you say the government is corrupt, there's so many elements to the government. So I guess that statement is saying that people who are spiritual believe that every aspect to the government is corrupt.
I guess so.
Should we govern
To me, that's a ridiculous statement. And, you know, I think it goes back to what you said. It's about, well, firstly, no person can satisfy all because it comes from within themselves.
Right.
Right.
govern
So if
yourself,
we're
govern
sending
yourself
out-
accordingly?
Yeah. So if we're setting out, like, okay, when I was thinking what you were asking, what's the definition of government? I was thinking it is the overriding authority. Just that simple. I think it's the overriding authority. And if you think about your life, who is your overriding authority? Most people would not point to themselves. Most people would be like, I have no idea. I'm certainly not in control of what I have. Why would I have this? I certainly wouldn't create that. But fundamentally, we are the overriding authority
We're our own
in
government.
our lives. And if we are saying the government is corrupt, are we not therefore saying that we are corrupt?
Yeah.
As a limiting belief. I'm not saying that you're saying that or that you're saying that. But if that is the belief, the simple phraseology, the government is corrupt, are you not saying that you yourself are corrupt?
Technically.
Isn't that what this is about? Technicalities?
Interesting.
You like that a lot.
Yeah, it's amusing me.
Why is it amusing?
I don't know. It's just amusing me. It's interesting. It's an interesting concept. Just an interesting concept. That's all.
I think that's a really deeper place to be with this statement. But if we just simply take it back to the law of reflection, that what we are seeing is a product of what we are believing, because your thoughts are things. The more we believe that to be a true statement, the more we will continue to see that be true.
Wow.
Like, you know how people say there's no way Trump can be president? What the universe takes from that is the verb, which is can be
Yeah.
president.
Yeah. There's no negative and
Does not understand not. So the more we say he can't win, he will win, because that's what the universe gets.
Cruz is worse. I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, I think
That's not why we're
I
here.
think it's a safe statement that most of the people around this table are not red Republicans.
So
I
what
think
should
that's
the
a safe
statement be? How do you switch that?
You state what you do want.
Bernie
So
Sanders
Trump will
for president.
lose?
Yes. Trump will lose.
Okay. Get on that, people.
Or as simply, America will get the president it deserves. And hopefully the majority of the population deserves something amazing. It doesn't have to be a judgment statement to say you get what you deserve. What do you deserve? And it goes back to that question around money, right? What do you deserve? Oh, we've talked a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. Does anybody have anything else they want to say about the corrupt government?
Really was entertaining to me.
Was a perfect reflection for you today?
No, not so much, but
Oh.
I work in government, and so
Yes.
I just have been involved, and I think that the people that I've seen in the programs that I work in and stuff, it doesn't feel corrupt. It's that people
People are corrupt, not necessarily the
No.
government.
But I think also that when you get to those positions, I think people are just trying to do the best that they feel
With what they have.
with what they have. And I mean, everybody has a different opinion about what people need and what's right, what's wrong, and I think that the overreaching thing, and there's so many dynamics and things that are in place, like it's just not an easy, right? Like,
And a lot of it's ego fed.
a lot. And and it just makes me laugh.
And when people don't get what they want or believe they deserve, they're lashing out as to why they're not getting it. Because you've got all that money, we all gave it to you, and now you're not providing what you're supposed to. You're corrupt, right? That's
Totally.
sort of, I think, a mindset that's out there.
Yeah.
There's so many examples, right, of who's deserving, who's not deserving, and then the politics. And it sort of makes me laugh because they always talk about politics and religion, and that it's not one and of the same. They're separate entities. But it was interesting because we just this last week had to swear an oath, and like an oath of allegiance and something to do with ethics, and we just an affirmation because they didn't have someone to come in to swear on a Bible or anything. So now they're calling it an affirmation, and it just sort of like there's no religion and politics. I don't know.
It's weird.
It is weird. Yeah. It just seems strange to me that the government would be spiritual sort of stuff, and then the government, it just seems to be two such different entities, really. Like, and I guess had a flash of what that would look like if the government was able to move forward with spiritual beliefs about some of those concepts and stuff. I just thought that was funny.
Church and state.
Yeah.
But I really love that the government, like what you had defined with the personal, you govern yourself. Like, I like that.
Good. Does anyone have any other comments? No? Well, thank you all for your participation. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.